This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to the Central Coast Writers Conference webinar with the famous, infamous Doug Richardson.
Yeah,
and
more infamous than famous.
We are going to talk about what Doug will be teaching at the Writers Conference, his master class, and just a little bit about Doug. And then I am going to pitch to Doug and he's going to hone my pitch. So you kind of have an idea what it's like when you take his master class with Chantel Amy Osmond about honing your pitch.
Who may hone completely differently than me, by the way, which is a
that's
really good idea.
I know, because I wanted the two of yours energy, because she's all nice and nurturing, and you're like, you.
And I'm me. Yeah, he's nice and nurturing, and I'm the harsh reality of show business.
Yes, you are.
Because I pitch to every hard pitch receiver on the planet.
All right, so then you're going to be able to do it. So you're starting with the masterclass, which is Hone Your Pitch, and it's 20 minutes with you and Chantel. And I'm telling everybody to bring a verbal pitch and then to also bring a written pitch, and so they can kind of write and hone it and do that.
Right, which we will then ask them to keep throwing out because they're not going to be allowed to look at their notes while the pitch going on. So yeah, and the pitch thing, Chantel and I, who are two different people, because when you pitch to a lot of different personalities. You pitch to people who like to interrupt, and you pitch to people who like to listen. You pitch to some people who like to look at the ceiling, which is the worst thing that could ever happen to you. But you have to learn how to pitch to all of them and try and get their attention, which is part of it. And so we're going to help you learn how to get their attention, because the most important thing in a pitch is to be interesting. And if you don't have their attention, and they have the attention span of gnats usually. It's true. You need to grab them and hold them and finish them off. So I know Teri will probably take that elsewhere, but that, because that's her style. But anyhow, that's what you got to learn how to do in pitching. So, and we're going to help you get there.
So, and then you're also teaching 2 other classes, right?
I am, yes. I'm teaching a class I'm very excited to teach called, the title is Instinctive Structure. I think it's Instinctive Structure.
There's
but
a lot
it has
of
to do
in that class.
Is there? There should be. Hopefully it'll be a lot of fun, because I have, a lot of people struggle with this thing called structure, including me. I've struggled with it a lot, but there are tricks to structure. But more importantly, I'm going to teach you how structure is actually within you, and it's just about finding how you let it out, because you actually 99.99% of the people on the planet, so the 1/100th of you who don't have that instinctive structure within them might struggle, but everyone else, it'll be awesome, because they're going to learn how to tap into what they already have to come up with killer structures for their stories and their books and their television movies or whatever they're going to do.
Awesome.
That's going to be a fun class. And then the other class is, I'm once again, by popular demand, gonna show how I write action and suspense, and we're gonna class source sort of a scene, and we're gonna write a scene. We're gonna write an action and suspense sequence live, and I'm gonna show you how I do it and what kind of thinking goes into that. And it was a lot of fun last year. Everyone seemed to have a great time. Hopefully it'll be as much fun and as interesting and illuminating as it was last year.
So for those that don't know who you are.
Yeah, look me up. I'm on IMDb.
No, tell them.
Google me. I've written some movies, and I've written a bunch of books. And between them, I've written some hit movies. I've written some not hit movies. Thankfully, I've had more hit movies than not, and or I wouldn't be here. And I've written a bunch of novels, and so I'm happily attend this conference every year, because it's just the best conference on the planet as well. I like to share, as so many other people do, and so openly, share what it is that we do and how we do it, because if you can't pass it on, then it's really not worth it. And this is a great conference to come and get some knowledge, because there's a lot of people there willing to share it openly and without reservation. So come and jump in the pool, because it's fun.
Jump into the, what was it? The tortured souls. Somebody said.
Teri Bass' Deep End.
The Teri Bass Binge weekend.
Yes, the binge and bend weekend. No, it's fun. Everyone loves it, and I'm going to be one of many there that's going to be available 24/7. Except, well, not 24/7. You can't knock on my hotel room while I'm there, but my wife will be upset.
If you're not nice to me, I'll give out your hotel room and say, it's 4 o'clock. Go wake them up. We can see the top of
I would deserve that. I would so deserve
totally deserve that. All right. And you haven't even barbecued me on my pitch. So I have just finished.
That's next. Here it comes.
Good idea not to threaten the guy you're about to pitch, right?
That's right.
So, okay. So I have.
Ready to wow me?
Okay. So you tell me which one. I just finished a novel and a teleplay. They're two very different things. Which would you rather have me try to pitch you first?
Well, let's try the teleplay first, because there's far less pitching when it comes to novels. Thank goodness, for novel writers. It's mostly about what you put on the page.
Right.
Where television and film, unfortunately, it's a business that their whole thing is, well, pitch us first. We'll see if we like it, and then we'll tell you if you should write this thing. So, and I'll start you off with what some people do. At the beginning of a meeting, they'll say, okay, it's time to pitch. Wow me. I'm serious. It's like, and then it's them. They try and put you back on your heels just to see what you do.
Wow you. Okay.
Wow me. So that's the whole point. I mean, not that it's going to be a wow, but you got to try.
Okay. So the teleplay is a serial half-an-hour show without commercials. It's got to be on one of the non-commercial networks, because it's got potty words. So
is this part of your pitch?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to hit the buzzer.
All right. Just talk about
They know why you're there. If they don't, the meeting was set up wrong, and they don't want qualifiers. They want to be wowed with story. They want to hear something right off the bat that makes it interesting.
Okay.
So hit me with a tease or anything to start off with. It might sound like,
Okay. So imagine a world where in your homeowners association where you live, if you break some of the rules, you get murdered for it.
Okay, kind of fun.
Kind of fun. So it's set in a homeowners association, and mostly dealing with the board of the homeowners association. And every week somebody is murdered for breaking homeowners association rules. And for the first season, you don't know who the killer is. And there's 9 people on the board that are suspects.
Okay. You're pitching a concept. It's a cool concept, right? So what's the story?
So the story is an ex murder for hire guy is fired. He works for the government killing people, and he's suddenly fired, and they relocate him to the small town in Northern California, and he's never dealt with society before because he's always just been on the road killing people. And so he joins the HOA because he likes rules and structure, and he takes it very literally. When someone breaks the rules, then he goes and kills them.
It's like Barry. It's like Barry in a community of some sort.
Right. I haven't seen Barry. I should probably watch it.
That would help if you've seen it, because when you're pitching, they're going to talk to you about other stuff that's on the air, and they're going to talk about references.
Okay.
All the time. So it helps to be up on what's on the air and what's not.
Okay. So I refer to like Serial Mom. Remember, it was with Kathleen Turner. It was about, I think, in the 80s, where she went around killing people because they didn't recycle or their dog shit on their lawn and that type of stuff.
Right.
So
Did anybody see that film?
I did, over and over again.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah. You're trying to sell to someone probably who hasn't seen the film, probably who's too young to even know who Kathleen Turner is.
Okay.
Which stinks. Which sucks, because I like Kathleen Turner and I dig the reference, but at the same time you're talking to someone generationally and stuff. What we need to do to hone your pitch right now is, I want to hear about a character in a story. Okay, I don't want to hear about a situation.
Okay, the main character.
I want to hear if it's a TV show, it's going to have a main character or main characters. They want to, when they're hearing the show, with a show, if you're pitching a show, it's great to kind of pitch a concept and real quick and say, it's Barry in an HOA, or something like that. One of those terrible, awful shorthand things that they say, which I hate. Writers hate them. We hate our stuff being boiled down to, it's Die Hard meets, Leaves of Grass. I mean, stuff that's completely insane. But in truth it's a shorthand that sets them up in such a way. It's a language that they speak. Right. They speak that shorthand all the time, that you're now speaking, and puts them in a place. So by starting off with something simple, it doesn't have to be that horrible shorthand way, but something that drops them into the space very, very quickly. So then you can go to, here's how the pilot starts, because they want to know that you know how to tell a story. That's the most important thing. If they buy the concept and they go, oh, that sounds kind of cool, now I want to know if you can tell a story. So you want to start off with a character. One of the ways to do that, and it's a cheat, but it works, is to seriously, like, if it's a main character for the show, and maybe there's an actor out there that network or production company knows is available, or knows is looking to do a new show or hasn't done a show before. And let's just say Brad Pitt is kind of done with movies. He's had a couple of bombs in a row and has kind of expressed interest in TV. You can start off saying, okay, Brad Pitt is a hitman, and there you go. You have their attention. They like that idea. They like that Brad Pitt's a hitman. I like that Brad Pitt's a hitman. That's a sexy, interesting, cool idea. And then you go on from there. Where is Brad Pitt? Why is he there? How does he get there? Or you give us your opening scene. It's called the teaser. When you watch a television show, there's this thing now, it's called the cold open for a TV show. And it's just, there's no titles, it just starts off. And they want to know what your cold open is and how it works, as if they're watching it themselves at that moment. You want to start off with your pitch with description in such a way where you're kind of in short, simple, creative, but compelling ways, setting the place and scene and the characters to make them feel like we're watching the show. And once they're hooked, then you can go on and say, and this is what's going to happen, and these are the kind of circumstances this character runs into. They're still going to ask you, though, about the pilot. If it is a pilot, they're going to ask you how the story goes and where the act breaks are and such like that. Okay,
let me try this. So Brad Pitt is driving in a golf court.
Makes you giggle.
Yeah, well, Brad Pitt is driving in a golf cart in a little housing complex. It's Christmas time, and as you drive past the houses, every house has either just green or red lights up, just single one light on. And then all of a sudden he turns the corner and there's one house that has blue lights on it. And when he turns to go, and like he's alarmed for these blue lights, and when he turns into the driveway, he sees the body hanging from the eaves of the house with the blue Christmas lights wrapped around it. And its face is as blue as the lights.
That's a good description. Now, is he responsible for that murder? Because we know he's a hitman.
Huh?
So that it's a mystery at that point.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
Is he going to solve the mystery?
No, he's going to avoid it.
He's going to avoid it. Well, that's very important to know, because you sort of set us up for something that made us feel like, okay, maybe it's going to be procedural and he's going to solve it and stuff like that. Versus,
okay. So then
carrying on after that, you need to then go, that's the last thing our character needs to see. A hitman who's trying to hide in a homeowners association, you know, and hide out there, and then he sees, all of a sudden he sees bodies way too familiar. How can I not be suspected for this? How can I hide from this? How can I get away from this as fast as possible?
So then the other main character is a ex-FBI. She's been thrown out of the FBI and we don't know yet, but now she is a forest ranger, which is the lowest rung of
federal law enforcement service.
Exactly. So she's a bunny hunter now, and she's also on the HOA, and she lives across the street from this gentleman, and she's trying to figure out, because every week there's a new murder from somebody who has broken HOA rules.
Is this a 1 hour or a half hour?
Half hour.
Okay.
So then the bunny ranger comes up and they discuss. And then you cut to the HOA meeting where you meet all the HOA board members. And we have one guy who's a local newscaster who keeps women's panties in his pocket and smells them all the time, because that's his thing.
Okay,
we have.
So it's not network. So it's not network.
No, not network. We have one of the characters is married to a 650-pound woman. She can't leave the house, and she's always kind of browbeating him and stuff. We have a character who is a real estate agent, but she is a snake in the grass, and she's partnered with the president of the HOA, and their main motive is when people don't pay their HOA dues, they foreclose on their house, take it and sell it and keep the profits.
And
then we
plot.
What's the plot?
Is that the evil plot?
That's one of them, yeah. No,
okay.
The evil plot is that every time somebody gets in trouble, they get murdered.
And who's murdering them?
It's the ex-murderer guy.
Oh, so the hitman is the guy who's killing them.
Yes.
Okay, so a hitman hiding in a homeowners association ends up being a hitman for the HOA for people who break the rules.
Right.
Okay. Well, what I just said just now,
right,
is a distillation that you as a writer should have on your own, because you're pitching me, the producer or the executive, and one thing they hate is them as the executive telling you what your show is.
Okay.
At least distilling it down to what it is. You need to know it. Here's what they want to see. They want to say, oh my gosh, this is a person with a vision, and I'm going to let them write this show and maybe run this show because they see this. You're surprising me. You know, when you're in a situation in a room, sadly, and I've been there, when they're asking you questions to try and distill it for them or clarify it for them in such a way, you're in trouble.
Got it.
It's usually not going to go anywhere. That's usually a first time where you kind of go, okay, I didn't put that over. So you want to be able to get most of that out of the way.
Got it.
So one of the first things you would do if you were in our class is I would say, okay, go back and just distill this a little bit, or let's just distill what this is about, which is it's about, you know, you've pitched me Brad Pitt, you pitched me the opening scene. Okay, so here's what it really is. Brad Pitt, who's hiding from his life of crime inside this small gated private community, ends up being the enforcer in the community, and if you break the rules, Brad Pitt's going to come and kill you.
Right.
Okay. Now, as I pitch that, I go, okay, that's kind of an interesting concept, but there's always like, I'm kind of waiting for the on the other side of it. Well, then what happens? That's the setup. But what happens that makes it interesting? The first thing you would say in a pitch that I want to hear in a pitch is after you've set it up and you say, this is what Brad Pitt's going to do. What are the who am I rooting for? Am I rooting for Brad Pitt? Is he my good guy? Okay.
Yes.
Well, then what obstacles is he going to have to overcome? The first thing I have to say after, and Brad Pitt is the guy who's going to off the people in this, who break the rules in the HOA. I need to hear, but here's Brad's problem. If he does this, and then you got to hear all the consequences that make it dramatic and funny for why Brad is choosing to do this and risk doing it.
Okay.
Are you feeling honed?
I am.
You feeling honed yet?
I'm feeling honed and toned. So each episode starts with the murder. So you see the murder.
Okay.
And each episode ends with him about to go and commit the infraction. So at the end of the first episode, they've now decided that it's because these HOA rules are just ridiculous, and that's what I loved about this is everybody who's ever had any kind of
awesome.
with an HOA is like they're crazy. So then at the end of the board meeting, they decide that this one lady has made a clothesline in the back of her house and she's hanging up her thong underwear up there. And they think that that is illegal. And somebody has been tasked to go over and tell her she can't hang up her bright green thongs on there. And so then the next thing you see is her hanging out the thong and then being electrocuted. One of the power lines drops down and touches it and electrocutes her. And a big proof of green.
And that's the end of the episode. Is this a serial?
Yeah.
Is this a serial show where the characters kind of continue to grow the following week? Yeah. So it's not an episodic. It's not like every show has to start with a murder, but it does. It can. It can still be that, but you sort of wonder how it happens and who did it and why and all that other stuff.
Right. So
here's the one thing. Pardon me?
His biggest nemesis is the bunny ranger who lives across the street. She has a son who's like 7 years old, and he takes a great liking to the son, but he does a lot of really strange things, and the 7-year-old sees it more than anybody else. And so she's there hiding too from an ex-husband who shows up the first scene and hides cocaine in her trunk or in her back of her truck. And then she finds the cocaine and is terrified of getting caught with it. So she goes over to his house and has him hide it for her in his freezer. Right.
So is this a romance between them eventually?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's something you probably should front load.
Okay.
In your pitch, where it's like, and the romantic interest in this.
Okay.
Is the bunny ranger across the street, who's his biggest danger, because the way she's going to get back in good with the feds is if she figures out these murders.
Right.
And then that ends up a conflict for her at some point.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's something, again, you should be telling me and not me telling you, other than my job here is to hone your pitch.
I'm so glad I'm recording this. I can just.
True. Anyway, well, speaking of recording this, let's rewind, at least in our minds, back to the very beginning, because what I've been able to do in this so far is unearth a good hook. Because again, you're sitting down to pitch somebody, whether it's over video, which is horrible, always get in the room. Always get in the room. Never pitch on the phone. Never pitch on Skype or this, if you can ever get away with it, because it's too removed and too cold. And these are people who hear in television even more so 50 pitches a week, if that, or more. I don't know. They're used to getting pitches. You get that many pitches, they're waiting to be, they don't need to look for what interests them. They're waiting for someone to interest them without them trying. Because again, they have attention spans of an ant. One of the nice tricks, it's one of the nice tricks to pitching, and pitching is an interesting art in that there is no set way to pitch. I've been in pitch meetings where the pitch took a minute and it was a brilliant pitch, I've been in pitch meetings where the pitch took 45 minutes and it was a brilliant pitch both times. There's no, it's all about style points and story points. It's not about, there's no cut and dry rules. You have to come up with your way to do it. One of my tricks that has worked very well over the years is I'm always looking for a reason for them to lean in. Okay, why do people get interested in stories? If I call this the lean in moment. It can be a question, but most of my stuff is I think people are fascinated by reality, by the weird stuff in the real world. You're describing a very unreal show, which is what makes it kind of funny. It's kind of a crazy, funny, Barry meets, Green Acres kind of setup, whatever it is. But if you ever say to them, if you start off in a meeting, okay, before I start this thing, have you ever been part of a homeowners association? Do you know what they do? Do you know the kind of rules that happen in a homeowners association that if you buy a house in a community, it's your dream house, it's where you want to live, it's where you want to raise your kids, and suddenly you get the HOA rules. That's already interesting to them because they want to know the answer to that, because odds are they don't have a clue what an HOA is like. But the fact that it exists is going to be interesting to them. If you said that at a cocktail party or a dinner party or a coffee at Starbucks, someone's going to kind of go, really, what's that? And you want them to go, really, what's that? So that's the first thing you have, is you have them hooked. Now you have them listening. So it would be great if after that you arm yourself with a list of crazy HOA rules.
Okay.
If you have so this is actual real homeowners association rules, and I'm going to read this to you. And I mean, I can't imagine how crazy that they could be. I love talking to my in-laws, about the new crazy homeowners association rules that they have where they live. It's just bananas.
Yeah.
But now you've got me leaning in about how weird it is to be part of an HOA, and then you say, so okay, now that they're in, so imagine Brad Pitt wants to live in this community, and Brad Pitt's a hitman. He doesn't want anyone to know he's a hitman. He wants to retire. He's done with being a hitman. He's going there to hide. Okay, he doesn't want witness protection. He got away with it. He's got his money. He's safe. He buys the house. This is where he's going to retire. And then he gets to look at the home association rules, which are kind of crazy. Now you've got a thing that has them leaning in, that they're interested in. You've got a character played by an actor that they like, that they can only hope to like, even if they get the poor version of Brad Pitt. They'll still have that, and he's in a situation that sounds interesting with a problem. You've now set it up in less than a minute, and they're waiting to hear what's next, because now you've set them up in such a way where you've essentially, yes, you're trying to tell them your story, but what you're really doing in a pitch is trying to tell them that you're a storyteller.
Got it.
And you're showing them that you're a storyteller, because they look at storytelling as this magical thing that they can't do. So they're waiting for someone to come in and do the magic trick in front of them. Oh my gosh, they're a storyteller. Of course I'm going to hire them. Of course I'm going to back a dump truck of money up to their front door. Because I've been waiting for this all month or week or year, for this person to walk in and tell me this story where I'm convinced oh my God, what an amazing storyteller. How can I not want them to come work for me? And not only does that work for your pitch, that if your pitch, if you tell a great story and it's a story they don't want to buy, because that happens as well. Well, that's not our brand. You're going to hear that a lot. That's not our brand. That's not our network. That's not what we're looking for this year. But you told a really good story. They're going to say, what else you got? Or come on back. Or what we're looking for is something for Gina Davis.
Right.
Because we really hear that she wants to do a TV show. Boom, you're in. That's an invitation to come back and pitch them something they're saying that they want to hear.
Okay.
But still, the trick to pitching is entirely proving to them that you're a storyteller.
Got it.
So be a storyteller. Don't say, this is what I'm going to tell a story about. Be a storyteller. Imagine you're sitting with them at some engagement where they don't have to listen to you.
Right.
You know, it's a cocktail party. When they talk about the elevator pitch. I don't like that term because who wants to be in an elevator? Who wants to be pitched to? But when you're at a social occasion, you're at dinner with somebody, you're at coffee or whatever, and someone says, did you hear about this? Oh my goodness, because that's what we do in real life.
Right.
We just trade stories all the time. This just happened to me. Oh, you wouldn't believe where I was last week. I was at the airport and da-da-da. That's what they want you to do in the room. Is tell them that thing that you would have told them at a party. You know, that would have entertained them. And that's what they really want to see.
Okay, so I have the thing I would tell you at a story. Yesterday, my husband got yet another jet ski because everybody needs 6 jet skis, and he's crawling
especially
around.
Gary Vance.
Yeah,
does he have a new van for it too?
And the damn van still hasn't sold. Anyway, I got an award though for the best. I got the best at Craigslist award or something for the ad. Anyway, so he's crawling around on the ground, getting because he's got this new jet ski, but we have 3 cats. The cats like to check things out. It pisses him off. So he's underneath it. And as he's laying there, a spider drops from underneath and drops in his ear. And he stands up and he comes in the house and he's like, there's a spider in my ear. I'm like, you're full of shit. There is no way. He's like, no, I can feel it dancing on my brain. No, spiders do not crawl in your ear. So I took him into the bathroom and I got one of those water plungy things. It's kind of like a syringe, filled it up with warm water, went, and the spider came running out of his ear.
Oh my goodness. If there was only video of that.
It was at the bottom of the bathtub. I'm like, you really should take pictures of this. But I didn't believe him.
And you should capture that little bit right there and say, that's how my pitch should start.
Right.
That's how my pitch should start. My pitch should be that interesting. If I'm pitching my story. If you're pitching their story, you're coming in to pitch, we're gonna do, well, we're gonna redo Breaking Bad. I want you to come back with a new version of Breaking Bad. There's another version of that. You got to come in. Okay, so it's Breaking Bad with Kristen Bell and Gina Davis, but you got to start that way, start that quick, but still make it like, imagine you're telling them that story,
at a cocktail party.
At a cocktail party, and maybe they've had a few and you've had a few, whatever it is. But it needs to be that kind of relaxed and quick and to the point. How many times have you been at a social event and someone starts telling you a story and it's like, yes,
more.
Is there going to be a point to this? Please, will you stop telling the story? But I'm stuck with you because I'm trying to be a polite adult listening to you tell the story. Okay, we all know what that's like, so don't be that person.
Got it.
Don't be that kind of storyteller. Be the kind of storyteller where you go, this happened. I can't believe it. So, most of us wind it up pretty quickly and we get to the punchline. And then if you get to it quickly, it turns into a conversation. Pardon me?
Because we're afraid we're going to lose them.
Right. We do this in our lives naturally. By the way, this is essentially going to be a little bit of the key of how my instinctive structure class is. We're going to be dealing with things that we do instinctively, naturally, that we do automatically in our lives. And then we get in front of, we're trying to write an outline, or we're trying to read or a computer or laptop trying to write this thing, or come up with an idea and we're trying to structure it, and suddenly it becomes this cumbersome thing when people realize that they structure naturally all the time. Well, we tell stories naturally all the time, and we pitch naturally all the time. Right. So that's what we need to do, is learn how to do that.
Okay, awesome.
You feel honed? Okay.
No, I wasn't. My phone, I'm blowing up. It's conference time.
Your phone's blowing up?
And some of it's important, some of it's not, but I just have to look. I'm like the worst at this point.
Well,
So,
since we're doing it, what's going on with my phone today?
I
well, I have a words with friends move I can make.
it was you brat. So in pitching a novel, I mean, you're gonna have to do it live anyway, because you run into, and like at the conference, you're gonna be sitting at lunch with an editor, and what do you write? They ask, right? So do you say apply the same things?
Yes, it's still the same thing. Can you tell a story? Are you telling me a story? Are you interesting? The hard part about that is the standard for a novelist and their ability to write is much greater than a screenwriter. At least the expectation is such that you're gonna have to write and be able to, in lengthy, not boring prose, tell a story. But the standard is still the same. They're saying, what do you want to, what's the book you want to write? And then their mind goes to click into receive mode. And is it going to make me go, oh, wow? It's the wow me. Are they going to be wowed? I mean, it might be something that's interesting. It might be something that's not. But anything that someone, I believe, unless they've read your work in advance and go, oh my gosh, he or she can write. Oh goodness, like the wind. I think they're amazing. I just wish they had a good story. And then I apply their writing to the story they want to tell. Then maybe I can do the math and say, wow, that's going to be great. But if they haven't read a lick of what you've written, okay, they're then just assuming you can write. And then the standard is still, is this a story that holds my interest? Is this a story that readers are going to want to buy? Is this something that I'm going to be able to slap a cover on and put in a bookstore and make people want to read? Is this something that's going to make the Oprah list? Because they're all quantifying.
Right.
They're all trying to say, is this something that fits my brand? So you want to be salient, you want to be nimble, you want to be conversational, and you want to be quick. You want to hook them.
Okay. So based on what you taught me, I'm going to pitch you my novel now. See if I do better.
Okay.
When I was 21 years old, I left law school and joined the circus and became a trapeze artist and spent the next 5 years going to.
Okay, just right now, even though I knew that about you,
I know.
I still found that interesting.
Okay.
You already got me.
Okay, good. So I spent the next 5 years in going to every single major city in Canada, Mexico, and the United States. I had 2 children in the circus and spent my early 20s learning to become a human being in a travel trailer, traveling with monkeys and elephants and tigers. Oh my.
Oh my. Okay, there's the hook.
Okay.
Okay. So what follows is, what my book is.
So what my book is
of this woman.
Right. So my book is a story that's not many people have joined the circus, so it's very detailed in what it's like to live with circus people and travel around and the whole culture, counterculture that is circus folks.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. But since there's no, let's say for example, your story was, I ran off to join the circus. And how many people run off to join the circus? It's a cliche, but I actually did. And I had this experience of running off and joining the circus. And it's so this woman runs off and joins the circus, and in doing so learns da 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 da. That gives me a reason for a book. But since your story, one of the things there's 3 reasons why I think something makes a good story, a good book, makes something readable. It's A, the person tells just a crackling good story and you want to turn the page. Everyone knows that kind of story. It may not be the best written thing in the world, but oh my gosh, I got to know what happens next.
Right.
Got to have one of these 3 things or a combination. Or the writing is just so incredible we've all read that writer that just, it's the poetry of words, and they reach the visuals that come, and it's like, wow, just take me away on your words, your cloud of words. Personally, that's not me, but I know a lot of people love that. Okay. Or the last one is someone who's done something interesting and has had an interesting life and understands something interesting that they've done but they have such a mastery of that subject matter that they're bringing me into that world.
Right.
Okay. And to me, I think that's one of the best things. I mean, why do we read certain things? We want to be transported to a place we haven't been before with someone we really like. What would sell your story, in my opinion, if I'm an editor, I want to hear, oops, I'm just, there's an earthquake here. Wait, no, it's not. I'm just bumping my laptop. But this is a cheap movie effect. 6.9 in Tarzana, California. Okay. All seriousness aside, or unseriousness aside, I'm gonna want to hear more. I'm gonna want to hear. Okay, so you ran off with it with a circus. It's that same thing. I'm at a cocktail party. Okay, okay, tell me something crazy that I would not know that happens in the circus that I would only find in this book. Written by me.
Right.
Tell me that crazy story. You ran after the circus. Okay, now I'm like, who does that? Okay. So let me tell you something. Let me tell you about the time.
Got it.
Bobo the Clown knocked on my door, and it's stuff like that.
Right. I literally lost 4 elephants.
And then there's another. Right. Okay. So this is the story of how you lose. I'm gonna have a chapter in it called "How You Lose 4 Elephants in Pittsburgh." And you got me. Then start telling me how you lose 4 elephants in Pittsburgh and tell that story well. And as a book editor, I'm gonna go, she's a storyteller. That's good. She knows how to. She said something that's interesting to me, because I as a book editor have people all the time trying to say things that are interesting to me, and I'm going, boring. I don't want to publish that. So you're saying something that's interesting to them, so you're getting in depth in it, and you're living it for them, and you're telling the story well, and they're going, wow, she's got that one. She might have 4 or 5 more. Let me see an outline, because that might be the next thing they'd want to see after hearing a couple stories. Yeah, here's my card. Send me a synopsis and an outline with some of these stories that you might tell. This could be really cool. There's nothing like it out there.
Right.
Maybe you'll also have a title that grabs them.
The Greatest of Ease.
Okay, that doesn't grab me, but.
Well, because there's nothing easy about circus life. And the greatest of ease is part of the lyric of the daring young man on the flying trapeze flies through the air with the greatest of ease.
Yes, I definitely know the reference. But
you're the only person who has like
I'm gonna do that versus, do I want a book title that says, I ran away and joined the circus. What did you do?
A little on the nose.
It is a little on the nose, and I've learned something really weird about that. And publishing, it depends. If your book is a literary book, okay, The Greatest of Ease, then maybe that's, it's got a Leaves of Grass feel. That's great. Okay. But if it's a commercial success, one of my favorite stories about, and I'm just pointing myself at my own flaws, is my friend Tom Schulman, who you know.
Right.
Tom Schulman, who wrote Dead Poets Society, won his Oscar and all that for that, was working on a script called The Teeny Weenies for the longest time. And it was a very famous thing. And I thought, Teeny Weenies, what a cool title. What does that bring up? And then I hear that it was being released under the title of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Right.
And I said, that is the stupidest, worst title I ever heard. I fully admit that. And only so many years later do I get why it was an amazing title.
Right.
Because it's sort of like, wow, just you hit me in the face with it. And guess what? Then the movie lived up to the title.
Right.
Okay, when you're teasing me with a book about running away with a circus and all the crazy stories that can come with it, and then you have children and all the stuff that happens with a woman, that could happen in that. The Greatest of Ease doesn't sound like I'm going to get all these amazing stories.
Right.
You know, that might be what a publisher. Again, I'm not a publisher.
I know.
And I'm just a person with one opinion. But I certainly, if I'm pitching my book, again, the publishers are in the business, just like movie studios, of making money.
Right.
Okay. They want to see the thing that you're doing. They want to see that there's every S in it is a dollar sign.
Right.
That's how they think. Otherwise, they would not have a job.
Right. I'm looking over at Christopher Moore's book in my thing, and one of his first one was "You Suck." It was a vampire love story. Like, okay.
That's not bad. That's pretty good. It stopped you. One of the keys to advertising I learned years ago was, and I'm not advertising, but I always thought this was brilliant, and I use this in pitches, is when you're turning the page of a magazine. What they used to taught back in the days of pop art. This is the Andy Warhol days of when pop art started coming in. They started using art to sell products. You know, late 50s, early 60s. You imagine the way people flip through a magazine. You want to come up with that ad that stops someone's life. It stops their life and makes them look at it. That's the key to advertising, is to interrupt and stop your life. Well, you're pitching to a publisher or an editor at a conference. You don't have that much time. They haven't read you, and they're in the business of making money. You want to stop their life. You want them to kind of go, whoa, that's a surprise. You know, that stopped my life. That made me think about it. Maybe you've got something. And that's key.
Yeah.
Other than that, you got to understand you are pitching against a lot of other people who are, they're hearing a lot of pitches from a lot of people. What makes yours stand out? You know, you suck. That stands out.
I know. I'm looking at, and I've got like, Where Did Crawdads Sing and Bowl Away and all these other litter, and then there's You Suck. And I'm like, okay, he was on the nose. I bought that book.
There is nothing wrong with a literary title if it fits a kind of a literary genre. And if you're sending the book and it's already written, or you've written 2 chapters and you have an outline, and you know they're going to read the chapters, and then it's something poetic, yeah, okay, I get that. That's kind of a neat title. Maybe that could sell, but it also, you know, isn't a pitch.
Yeah, it's definitely
talking a pitch. Then it's a pitch. You've got a matter of seconds to stop their life and make their ears go, wow, you wowed me.
Okay, how about I invented thong bikini underwear?
It's a whale of a tale?
There was none. We were the first ones to do it. Because
that was a really funny response. I didn't get there was none.
There wasn't any. And so because
there wasn't any thong underwear when you invented it?
No, there wasn't any thong underwear when I started flying on the trapeze. Because our costume.
I thought you're still in that story. I thought you were pitching me something new.
No.
If you think about it, if people go back and rewind, let me pitch you this. This is the third take. There wasn't any thong underwear.
No, I was trying to come up with a more on the nose title for you.
Oh, well, but there's a on the nose story. You realize there was no thong underwear back when I was a trapeze artist. So let me explain to you why that's funny.
And you know that leotards.
And why that's the most uncomfortable thing you could possibly talk about. Then everyone's like, yeah, tell me more. I want to hear that.
One of my chapters is just about what it's like to be 75 feet in the air and not to focus on that sliver of thing that's right up your butt. There's just, It's so discerning and it's so uncomfortable.
Right.
And that
it's
girls
a different
now,
kind of tight wire.
yeah, and that people choose to wear them now just baffles me. Anyway.
Well, it's a choice, but see, that's funny. That could actually be how that actually occurred. How, thong underwear should have been invented, or maybe you were the reason why it was invented, but still, that's an interesting.
Well, leotards, the ones that ballerinas wear, were made from the first trapeze artist whose name was Leotard.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go. Just all sorts of circus facts. I got facts, man.
But circus facts are great. But circus stories, people want to hear stories.
Right.
That's all we want to listen to are stories as human beings.
Right.
And that's all people want to be told is an interesting story. Because again, you're auditioning as a storyteller, not as a writer.
That's very good advice. Very good advice. All right. So we need to wrap up. So everybody should sign up for your Hone Your Pitch.
Yes, your pitch will get very honed. I promise you.
The Central Coast Writers Conference is next week. Woohoo! We're all very excited to be there.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. 40 of the best presenters in the whole wide world. 112 classes this year. And the cool thing is we have an audio guy that's going to be recording everyone so they can buy classes on an MP3.
Oh, that's really smart. That's really good.
Yeah.
I know people. I've known people who wanted to come.
Right.
Wanted to come and see anybody but me teach, but still, I know people who wanted to come, and that would be a great way for them to come. Exactly. But I would rather them come instead of just listen to on.
It's a very special time. All right, darling. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and I will see you on Wednesday.
You will see me Wednesday if I don't see you first.
All right.
It's all a schoolyard for me. It's late in the day. Please come to this thing. This is the best conference on the planet, run by the best lady on the planet. So there you go.
Oh, you're nice. Thank you.
Our mistress of the writing realm.
It's out in the public now. I am the MOWR.
She's the MOWR.
Thanks, Doug. Bye.
All right. Come. Bye.